I guess, I mean, I can't argue with the importance of, truth. But I guess I just see the energy that would be spent to do a real investigation and do a real prosecution of who was really responsible for making those buildings come down in obviously a controlled demolition. One of the buildings was never even hit by anything, and it did the same thing. I mean, all this stuff is obvious, but what's more important is shutting down our foreign military overstretch. I'd rather focus on that and say, look, this whole thing was a false premise. The war on terror is quite likely mostly a false concept to begin with. Yes, there are crazy nutbags out there who we need to watch out for. And yes, every once in a while, one of them is going to blow themselves up. But we need to get real about our cost-benefit of our military overstretch. I think, to me, that's a way to bring this issue, same net result, but without having this divisive, oh my God, I have to accept the fact that maybe someone in my government was connected to this, and that just blows all my myths away. And I think that's never going to come to a consensus in this country. I think it will bring some issues up to force it. I would support a new investigation by, I don't know who is the third party that could be unbiased to conduct this investigation.
There you go. You can't ask a government to investigate itself,
no,
any more than you can ask me to investigate myself.
Right.
I'd say I'd do it.
I mean, I've talked to, one of the funny things that I asked Chris Ketchum, who's done a lot of writing and journalism on this, and I respect a lot of his intel. He said that, the idea that this was an inside job, there's no way we could have pulled this off. Was what he gets from the insiders in our government that he's, having these open conversations with. Who is the insider? Obviously, somebody did something. There's a reason that NORAD was was down that whole weekend, or that whole day, in terms of all of our air defense was distracted in a war game. And the premise was, what if airliners hit our major buildings? So when they saw the real reports, they'd think it was part of the war game. I mean, there's, it's an endless list of that doesn't make sense. There's no way that's legitimate kind of questions.
I guess where you and I might disagree, Gaelan, is on the we part. Like, we have to shut down these military bases because you use the word we. I'm already using the word they. I'm already disengaged from this terrible thing, to the point where I just can't. My conscience doesn't let me use the word we, and I don't think that they're going to just simply listen to public opinion, no matter what public opinion says. They're not going to withdraw from Iraq until they've completed building the military bases right over the oil wells in Iraq, so that they don't go into the cities anymore. We need to interview the elephant in the room who's sitting right over there, called peak oil, and say, what are the energy costs of keeping this full spectrum worldwide military dominance going, and how long can it go on? At some point, it's going to cost close to a barrel of oil to extract a barrel of oil. At that point, it's not going to be worth getting that barrel of oil. This, speaking of sustainability, this military spread is going to be, they won't be able to fuel it anymore. Hitler invaded Ukraine. There's no more Ukraine to invade to get the oil to keep the war machine going. Now, what happened to the Soviet Union? They couldn't keep it going, and they just collapsed. So, in one sense, we're getting what we wished for. We can't predict exactly when that's going to happen. The best we can do is somehow, as things fall apart abroad, to find a way to get as many Vermont troops as possible back home, because we're going to need them to keep social order, to rebuild infrastructure. There's a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done here in Vermont.
Yeah, I guess I say we because I'm still paying federal income taxes.
At the point of a gun. But when it's, I don't call the mugger they, but we. I call the mugger they.
Yeah, that's true.
If the American empire could be broken up, then no one piece of it would be so big that we couldn't investigate and find out what was actually happened on 9/11. the UN, for instance, could investigate,
Yep.
and then we wouldn't have to be paying for
Yeah.
these wars. And like you say, at the point of the gun, Vermont would make
I
their
know.
own
I
decisions.
mean, the investigation to me is as simple as follow the money. You know, who benefited financially from it? So investigation's over. It's easy to know what corporate interests were behind either allowing this to happen or encouraging it or making it happen, whatever. It's really obvious.
Or why was the Patriot Act all ready to go
Yeah.
slightly before 9/11? And your current president, Barack Hussein, actually voted to renew it as senator.
As
So,
did-
why was this?
It's like the emperor, that story of the emperor with no clothes.
Right.
It's obvious there for everybody to see, but nobody wants to see it.
I know.
Right.
I'm the little boy that points out that the emperor has no clothes, even in local politics, which is interesting. Some days I wish that somebody else would come and point out that the emperor has no clothes, because I'm still, if you look at the Democrats debating, they still talk about how proud they are to be Americans, and how important it is to keep these wars going, and it's for national security, and
Yeah.
it's incredibly shameful the way these people
what's
act.
wrong with being a Vermonter first, and even without secession, an American second? What's wrong with the state you come from being your identity filter and your priority? Why is that not patriotic? I think that's as patriotic as you could get. And I mean,
Or your family. Your
right,
family, your community.
right.